Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, as the price of Bitcoin is continuing to reject from my exact area of resistance, we're still technically playing out the short-term bearish divergence, but while this is happening, we are now forming a new signal in the immediate short term that we need to pay attention to, which, if this confirms, could change everything for the price of Bitcoin, at least when we're talking about the short term here, while Ethereum is now potentially about to retest this crucial area of support again in the short term, while the price of Solana is still perfectly playing out my bearish divergence. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But as I warned about months ago, obviously we technically still have this bearish divergence still influencing the price of Bitcoin, at least over the last 1 to 2 months, and potentially moving forward here on the weekly time frame, basically causing a larger slowdown, a larger setback, but still possibly within the larger bull market here. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, as I talked about in my last video, we're potentially now regaining a little bit of bearish momentum in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD. And so obviously, as I've been saying since basically the beginning of September, we were slowly moving towards a bullish crossover in this indicator, in this time frame, basically pointing towards a little bit of a bullish relief as a likely scenario. And obviously from the beginning of September moving forward, that is what played out over the last few weeks as expected. But now we're starting to move away from that possible bullish crossover, which is obviously a bit of a bearish signal now starting to play out. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is continuing to play out the rejection from pretty much my exact area of resistance that I've been warning about here on the channel since before the perfect rejection at approximately 117,000 and even slightly above 117,000 with a lot of resistance around there on the price chart. And obviously we never confirmed daily candle closes above that resistance, or especially holding that as new support, so never confirming a strong breakout here above this area, ultimately rejecting from the area of resistance that I've been warning about once again since before the rejection. And so of course this was one of the major reasons as to why I did take a decent amount of profits off the table out of my Bitcoin long positions previously out of this bullish move right here. Obviously, if you've been watching my videos over the last couple of weeks, you'll know that I longed this bullish move, took quite a lot of profits off the table around 117,000, because I said back then that's a likely area on the price chart where we could possibly reject, but I still had some of the trade open in case we ended up breaking out towards the upside, which ultimately stopped out still in profits on top of the other profits that I took around that area. And so right now I'm simply just waiting for this move to end up playing out here before thinking about potentially another entry point at some stage later on. And right now the next major support that I'm watching is this level right here, sitting at just above 110,000, really in between around 110k to 111k. That is the area of support that I'm now watching for the price of Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin breaks below that area, it's quite possible we could retest these lows just here, where we have a lot of support for the price sitting in between 106.7k to 107.6k. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously, as I've already been warning about since all the way back up here, this bearish divergence on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart is still technically playing out. But of course, as I mentioned in my last video just yesterday, we have now hit oversold territories in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so, like I said in my last video just yesterday, around these lows at approximately 112,000, I said it's most likely over the next 1 day or so, we're most likely just going to bounce around relatively sideways, maybe see a very, very slight little bounce like this, basically a little bit of a break now from all of that previous bearish price action, which obviously over the last 1 day pretty much exactly played out as predicted. We saw mostly choppy sideways price action, just a slight little break, a slight little relief from that quick drop off the other day. But if we're looking at the immediate short-term price action here in the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, we're now officially forming lower lows in the price in the candle closes, while the RSI on the 4-hour time frame is starting to form some higher lows. Now, this is not yet properly confirmed. We still need to actually confirm the higher low in place in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, with a slight little bounce here. Basically, a couple of candle closes confirming in the green can help confirm confirm the higher low in place in the RSI. And of course, if that confirms, if we confirm the higher lows in the RSI alongside the already confirmed lower lows in the price in the candle closes, that is of course a bullish divergence. And the last bullish divergence we saw here on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart was back here, and what came next from both of these previous bullish divergences was at least a bit of a short-term bullish relief. Now, a divergence is not always a trend reversal signal, but it usually results in a short-term bullish relief, basically a break or maybe a slight bullish move after all of the bearish price action, kind of like how a bearish divergence usually results in some sort of pullback in the price, or at least a bit of a cool off during a bullish trend. And so now, obviously, if we're talking about the price structure or the trend for the price of Bitcoin here on the 4-hour time frame, it's clearly looking bearish. We're starting to form lower lows and lower highs, breaking below certain points of support that were previously holding the price as important support. So clearly the price structure, when we're talking about the short-term trend, is bearish. But if we confirm this new bullish divergence in the coming hours, maybe over the next one day, this could result in just a short-term bullish relief, perhaps during a bit of a bearish trend here. So maybe a short-term bullish relief for a couple of days or so, and then maybe another bearish move later on. That is a very likely scenario that we need to keep in mind. But remember, I want to make it clear we've not yet actually confirmed this new bullish divergence. It's just possibly forming. So it's something that I'm pointing out on the price chart, something to be aware of in case it confirms, but not yet in play. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we could see a relatively small amount of liquidity building below the price at around 111.2k to 111.3k. So just above 111,000, we do have a small amount of liquidity right around here. So it's possible we could take out that level, but a lot of the liquidity is still sitting above the price at around 118,000 towards around 119,000. So right around here, we also still have a lot of liquidity. But obviously, based on that reason alone, it's unlikely the price will just go straight towards that liquidity like that, because we have to consider all of these other factors like the price structure, the momentum in the price chart, as we can see right here, currently pointing a little bit more bearish, at least when we're talking about the short term here. But believe it or not, this is actually not too bad, all things considered, because of course we're in the month of September, and historically speaking, looking at Bitcoin's past performance in previous Septembers over the years, usually around August, September are some of the most bearish times for Bitcoin historically speaking. And if we're looking at this September this year, it's actually still slightly green, just almost break even, but slightly in the profits, which is actually not bad at all things considered. And we also have to keep in mind that we're approaching the end of September now. We're getting close to the end of September, and we're about to hit October, which historically speaking, October is pretty much the most bullish month on record for Bitcoin price action, historically speaking. And now, obviously, past performance does not guarantee anything in the future, but with that being said, out of all of these previous Octobers, dating all the way back to 2013, is this information right here. From 2013 onwards, there's only been 2 red Octobers. One was around 12 to 13% down. One was barely 3 to 4% down, so almost break even. The rest of the Octobers, every single year since 2013, besides those 2, were green months, and they weren't just small months. A lot of them were quite large gains towards the upside. And we could see something similar in November and closer towards December as well. If I hide my face cam, you could see November as well is usually a pretty bullish month for the price of Bitcoin. And so this is the time in the market where you need to be paying attention the most, when a lot of people out there are just getting frustrated with crypto, basically whether that you're losing money or essentially just bored with the current range that crypto is currently staying in. Bitcoin and crypto kind of just remaining range bound for quite some time. But as more and more people get annoyed or frustrated or sell their crypto or leave crypto, of course, that presents opportunities in the market when there's less competition. And so we could see that historically speaking, the absolute best buying opportunities in Bitcoin's history have been after bear markets or after crashes in the price, when a lot of people are annoyed or frustrated or angry or leaving Bitcoin and crypto. And so if you find yourself in any of those negative emotions, just know that historically speaking, in those negative times in the market or very boring times in the market, those are the periods in the market where it makes the most sense to stay around, or at least stay paying attention to crypto, not necessarily buying, selling, but at least stay paying attention to crypto, because because those are usually where the biggest opportunities are, not financial advice. And so if you haven't done so already, make sure you're set up ready to go on a crypto exchange to take advantage of the next trading opportunity as soon as it happens. And personally, I take a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim massive trading and deposit bonuses. For example, you can claim up to 120,000 USDT out of this prize pool here, which is exclusive for only the accounts that actually use the link below this video to make your BTNX account. And on top of these major trading bonuses, just by trading crypto, there's also deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit as little as $100, you get a $20 bonus, or if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BTNX account. Basically free money from the exchange just simply by depositing and trading crypto using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can also claim massive bonuses. For example, up to 10,000 USDT in trial fund bonuses and 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stable coins, just simply by trading crypto using that link and depositing crypto using that link. And on top of that, without making any deposits or any trades, you can also get a $30 sign up bonus using the link below this video and 1 month free VIP 3 upgrade using the link below this video. So basically massively cheap trading fees, very cheap trading fees for the first entire month, and essentially free money from the exchange, which you can use to trade it over on 2bit. But once again, only the accounts that are actually using the link below this video can take advantage of all of these bonuses here. And in case you're wondering, yes, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the 3-day time frame, and right now the Bitcoin dominance is still kind of just playing out a shorter term bullish divergence, as we can see, and as I've already been mentioning a few times now over the last 1 to 2 weeks, give or take. And so it is quite likely we could play out basically price action kind of like this. So not necessarily a massive bullish move like this, but essentially expect some strength, or at least the Bitcoin dominance to hold up relatively okay in the coming days, maybe over the next 1 week or so, which means obviously that's not really good news for altcoins. It means a lot of altcoins will either be performing similar to what Bitcoin is doing or quite possibly underperform what Bitcoin is doing. And so of course, if Bitcoin is showing weakness or even pulling back as it has been doing over the last few days for almost a week now, of course this means that a lot of altcoins are going to be doing something similar or maybe even a bit worse. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, and right now the price of ETH is still trading in the same sideways price range as I've been saying for pretty much months now on the channel, for around 1 to 2 months, since all the way back here I've been predicting for the price to remain in this sideways price range, bouncing around between support and resistance. And obviously, as I predicted all the way back then, that has been playing out as predicted. But in case you're new to the channel, this area of support that I've already been talking about for a long time is still sitting in between 3.9k to 4.1k, and this area of resistance is still sitting in between around 4.8k to 4.9k. And if we're taking a look at this 8-hour Ethereum price chart, currently the price of ETH is still holding above this important area of support, but also underneath now this important area of resistance based on previous crucial support now acting as new resistance. First of all, this support is sitting in between around 4060 to 4.1k, and this area of resistance based on previous support is sitting in between around 4250 to 4280. And I'd also expect a lot of resistance all the way back up here if the price ultimately gets back up there in between around 4470 to 4.5k. And clearly the shorter term price structure is bearish. I've been saying that since the moment we broke below roughly 4.5k, as I said all the way back then. If we're breaking below this area, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, ultimately expect to move down towards the next major area of support. And obviously that happened. In fact, we actually broke through that next area of support and and head down towards this significant area of support here on the larger time frames, the 3-day time frame. But ultimately, the price is just simply still in a larger sideways price range, and it's likely going to be the case for at least some time, at least a number of days, maybe even another few weeks as a likely scenario, remaining in this sideways price range here, holding above this support, but also failing to break out above this resistance. And as I said earlier, of course, with the Bitcoin dominance playing out this sort of price action, a slight little bullish relief, expect Ethereum to play out similar price action to what Bitcoin plays out, but even slightly worse price action. So for example, if Bitcoin has, let's just say, a bit of a sideways consolidation, it means Ethereum might actually experience a slight little pullback. And so it's quite possible Ethereum could be about to retest this area of support again, but obviously, as we've seen recently and as we've seen in the past, there's still currently a lot of buyers looking to buy up Ethereum in this region down here. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, obviously Solana is continuing the pullback right now, breaking well below that 230 level and now starting to break below this point of support based on previous resistance, flipping into support at around 215 to 216. So especially if we now confirm this daily candle close or a 2-day candle close here on the 2-day time frame below around 215, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation it's quite possible we could be about to retest this area on the price chart in between 190 to 200. And that area right there is definitely very important for the price to actually hold above, because for example, if we confirm candle closes below 190, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, that would actually be a significant change in the larger price structure. So not just a little short-term pullback during this bullish trend, but quite possibly causing the end of the bullish trend and confirming a new larger bearish trend starting to form and starting to play out, which could play out over at least a period of weeks, quite possibly a period of many months. Because obviously this larger bullish trend has been playing out since basically around April this year onwards. We've been in a larger bullish trend with the occasional pullback along the way towards the upside. And so for as long as the price of Solana holds above 190 to 200, for as long as we bounce either before then or bounce from within that area or around that area, we can technically still remain in the larger bullish trend for as long as we hold that area there. But I'm just simply saying now that if we lose that area and confirm a break below that area and fail to get back above that area, that will be the change in the price structure, pointing towards a bearish direction for the larger trend. And in case we see any sort of bounce here, I'd now expect resistance, especially around 230, and of course around these local highs sitting at roughly 250 as well, obviously acting as resistance. And of course, one of the major reasons as to why we're seeing this pullback, along with the fact that Solana is just following similar price action to what Bitcoin is following, another reason as to why we're seeing this pullback is of course thanks to this bearish divergence here on the 12-hour Solana price chart that I've been talking about every day and warning about here on the channel since all the way back here. And so obviously, once again, this bearish divergence is still influencing the price of Solana, which means continue to expect a lot of weakness in the short term in the coming days here moving forward, which means don't expect significant bullish price action. It's possible we could play out maybe some sideways price action here and there, but don't really expect massive strength or massive bullish momentum, and quite possibly a continued pullback is very likely. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, obviously right now XRP is still being influenced by this larger bearish divergence with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the weekly XRP RSI, as I warned about here on the channel many times months ago now on the channel, since back around July, since almost all-time highs. I warned about this larger bearish divergence, saying that over the next couple of months throughout August, September, expect a larger cool off for the price of XRP as the most likely scenario. And so obviously now that that has been playing out as I predicted months ago, of course, if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, the price is still holding above this important area of support here, sitting in between around 270 to 280. So at least in the short term, that is some good news for XRP holders, because at least for now, it shows that there's still a lot of demand for XRP within this area. That's where basically there's a lot of buyers for XRP buying up XRP the moment we dip into this area in between 270 to 280. But if we actually break below this area with confirmation, so for example, a daily candle close below 270, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, that would be a massive change in this price structure here, pointing towards the bearish direction, obviously. And of course, if that were to happen, not only would that break towards the downside be bearish by itself, it would also be breaking from kind of a descending triangle pattern formation, as we can clearly see relatively horizontal lows while forming lower highs, which is also a form of bearish price structure. But obviously that would only really be confirmed if we actually break below this area. So it's very important for XRP to hold above this area, hold this as support, because once again, if XRP breaks below this area with confirmation and fails to get back above that area, it's quite possible we could see a much further drop off, at least down towards 240 to 250, but quite possibly all the way down towards the lower $2 area, almost testing $2 could be a very likely scenario if the price cannot hold above this area right here in between 270 to 280. And of course, if we see another short-term bounce, I'll be watching out for this area as the important area of resistance, sitting in between around 310 to 315. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, the price of Chainlink has now officially confirmed a daily candle close below $22. This latest daily candle close, as of recording this video, confirmed at approximately 2160 to 2170. And so obviously this now officially confirms the change in the larger price structure, because we now actually have a confirmed lower high in the price and now a confirmed lower low in the price, not just in the actual candle wicks, but also in the candle closes. And so I'll now expect resistance at approximately $22, really in between 22 to 22.30, 22.40, in that area right there, in the lower $22 area. Expect a lot of resistance for the price of Chainlink if we ultimately retest that area, and especially if we fail to get back above that area with maybe one final attempt here. If we fail to get back above that area and ultimately just continue a further rejection, honestly, it's quite possible now that we could drop down towards this level on the price chart, sitting in between around $19 to $20. And if we're talking about the larger trend or momentum, we're now simply pointing in the bearish direction. So it's quite possible that yes, we could see the occasional bounce, but overall, honestly, we're not looking too good when we're talking about the next few weeks, maybe the next few months, kind of like how basically the opposite of this previous larger bullish trend. We can see the occasional pullback along the way, but we're looking very good when we're talking about the next multiple weeks or months. It's basically the opposite situation right now. We can see the occasional bounce here and there in the short term, but when we're talking about the next multiple weeks or months, not looking too good. But of course, you can still make profit in the crypto market with, first of all, other coins that might not necessarily be as bearish, but of course, even during bearish price action, you can still profit using things like short positions, for example, to profit along the way towards the downside. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, to profit no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.